You're busy all day, checking tasks off your list, but deep down, you know you're not moving the needle where it really matters. In At Your Best, Carey Nieuwhof shows why doing more isn't the answer, and how to shift from a life of constant reaction to one of intentional, focused impact. Welcome back to Insibook. In this video, I'll walk you through his best strategies to beat overwhelm, protect your most valuable energy, and get the right things done, so you can finally feel in control and at your best. We live in an age obsessed with productivity, an era where the sheer volume of activity is often mistaken for genuine impact. We feel perpetually busy, rushing from one task to the next, juggling countless demands, and responding to an endless stream of notifications. Yet, despite this relentless motion, a nagging feeling persists. We're not actually getting the right things done. We feel stretched thin, exhausted, and ultimately ineffective. The calendar fills up, the to-do list grows, but the sense of accomplishment and forward momentum remains elusive. This isn't just a personal struggle, it's a cultural phenomenon. A burnout epidemic fueled by the myth that more activity automatically translates to greater results. We're operating under the illusion that if we just work harder, longer, and faster, we'll eventually reach a state of peak performance and accomplishment. But the reality is far different. Pushing ourselves relentlessly, without strategic intention, often leads us further away from our goals and deeper into exhaustion and frustration. We become reactive, constantly putting out fires, pulled away from the truly important work by the insistent demands of the merely urgent. This constant state of overwhelm isn't sustainable, nor is it effective. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in it. No matter how much water you pour in, it never truly fills. We spend our energy, our focus, and our precious time on things that yield diminishing returns, neglecting the activities that would actually move the needle significantly. We confuse motion with progress, busyness with effectiveness. The core problem isn't a lack of effort, it's a lack of intention. It's not about trying to do more, it's about learning to do less, but better. The challenge lies in shifting our mindset from a volume-based approach, where we try to cram everything in, to a value-based approach, where we deliberately choose what truly matters and focus our energy there. This requires a fundamental reevaluation of how we approach our days, our priorities, and our definition of success itself. The goal isn't to eliminate demands, that's impossible, but to master the art of responding to them with wisdom and focus, ensuring our efforts are directed towards what yields the greatest long-term impact. What does it truly mean to be at your best? It's not about achieving a state of flawless perfection or working without interruption. Perfection is an illusion, and constant work without rest leads inevitably to burnout. Instead, being at your best means operating with sustainable effectiveness. It's about leveraging your unique strengths and capacities in the most strategic way possible, ensuring that your energy is invested where it will generate the most significant results. It's about achieving clarity on your priorities and having the discipline to focus on them, even when distractions beckon. It means understanding your own limits and rhythms, recognizing the point where pushing harder becomes counterproductive, and deliberately incorporating periods of rest and rejuvenation. This isn't a passive state. It's an active, intentional practice of aligning your efforts with your most important goals and values. It's about making conscious choices that protect your focus, preserve your energy, and maximize your impact over the long haul. At the heart of this shift lies the critical skill of prioritization. We are constantly bombarded with tasks, requests, and opportunities, making it incredibly difficult to discern what truly warrants our attention. Many of us fall prey to the tyranny of the urgent, the relentless pressure of tasks that demand immediate attention regardless of their actual importance. These urgent tasks, often reactive in nature, hijack our focus, pulling us away from the strategic, high-impact activities that are crucial for long-term progress but lack immediate deadlines. Think of the constant stream of emails, messages, and unexpected requests that seem to demand instant responses. Engaging with these pulls us out of deep work, fragments our attention, and prevents us from tackling the projects that truly matter, the ones that require sustained concentration and strategic thought. We end up feeling busy managing the fires, but failing to build anything lasting. This is why carving out intentional moments for strategic reflection, what can be called the productive pause, is not a luxury, but an absolute necessity. These are moments deliberately set aside, free from interruption, to gain clarity on what is truly important. It's during these pauses that we can take a step back from the chaos, assess our priorities, and make conscious decisions about where to direct our energy. Without these pauses, we remain trapped in a reactive cycle, driven by external demands rather than internal direction. This is where the wisdom of placing big rocks first becomes paramount. Imagine trying to fit large boulders, smaller rocks, pebbles, and sand into a jar. If you start with the sand and pebbles, they fill up the jar, leaving no room for the boulders. However, if you place the boulders in first, you can then fill the remaining spaces with the smaller items. Your most important priorities, your big rocks, need to be identified and intentionally placed into your schedule first. Only then can you effectively manage the lesser, though still necessary tasks. This requires discipline, a willingness to protect that time, and the courage to say no to demands that don't align with these core priorities. Learning to say no is perhaps one of the most challenging yet essential skills for operating at your best. Every yes to something is inherently a no to something else, usually to your own priorities, your well-being, or the truly important work you need to accomplish. When we struggle to decline requests, we dilute our focus, spread ourselves too thin, and ultimately compromise the quality of everything we do. Saying no isn't about being unhelpful or unkind. It's about being realistic about your capacity and fiercely protective of your priorities. It's about honoring your commitments to what matters most. This often involves developing polite but firm responses, setting clear boundaries, and understanding that declining a request that doesn't align with your core objectives frees you up to say a more meaningful yes to what truly does. It allows you to preserve the energy and focus needed for your big rocks. Another significant hurdle we face is the pervasive culture of distraction and the seductive myth of multitasking. In our hyper-connected world, constant notifications, endless information streams, and the pressure to juggle multiple tasks simultaneously have become the norm. However, research and experience consistently show that multitasking is largely a myth when it comes to cognitive tasks. What we perceive as multitasking is actually rapid task switching, a process that significantly reduces efficiency, increases errors, and drains mental energy. Each time we switch focus, our brain has to reorient itself, incurring a cognitive cost. This fragmentation prevents deep concentration, hinders creativity, and ultimately leads to lower quality output. To operate at your best, you must become a master of single tasking. This involves consciously minimizing distractions, turning off notifications, closing unnecessary browser tabs, and creating dedicated blocks of time for focused work. It requires building an environment, both physical and digital, that supports concentration rather than constant interruption. Protecting your focus is paramount to ensuring your efforts are directed effectively. Beyond managing tasks and distractions, a crucial element often overlooked is the management of our own energy. We tend to think in terms of time management, but time is finite and fixed. Energy, however, is dynamic and can be cultivated and replenished. Think of it like managing a battery. If you constantly drain it without recharging, it will eventually die. Similarly, constantly expending your physical, mental, emotional, and even spiritual energy without adequate recovery leads to burnout and significantly diminished capacity. This requires conducting an honest energy audit, identifying where your energy is being spent, what activities drain you, and what activities genuinely recharge you. Are late nights of work costing you crucial sleep, impacting your focus the next day? Are constant emotional confrontations leaving you depleted? Is scrolling through social media eating into time that could be used for restorative activities? Understanding these patterns is the first step toward making intentional choices that preserve and enhance your energy reserves. This brings us to the concept of rhythm, the deliberate alternation between periods of intense effort and periods of genuine rest and recovery. High performance isn't about maintaining a constant, moderate pace indefinitely. It's about embracing a cycle, much like elite athletes train. They push their bodies to their limits during training sessions, but they also dedicate significant time and resources to recovery. Without recovery, the intense training becomes counterproductive, leading to injury and burnout. The same principle applies to our work and lives. We need periods of focused, high-intensity engagement, with our most important tasks, followed by deliberate breaks that allow us to fully recharge. Simply pushing through exhaustion without recovery is a recipe for diminishing returns. Strategic breaks aren't signs of weakness. They are essential investments in sustained effectiveness. Whether it's a short walk, a few minutes of quiet reflection, or stepping away from your workspace entirely, these breaks allow your mind and body to reset, preventing fatigue from accumulating and enabling you to return to your work with renewed focus and vigor. Identifying the smallest actionable step, the minimum viable action, MVA, is another powerful strategy for overcoming inertia and procrastination, especially when facing large or daunting tasks. Often, the sheer scale of a project can feel overwhelming, leading us to delay starting altogether. The MVA approach breaks this cycle by focusing on identifying the smallest possible action that still represents meaningful progress. It's not about doing the whole task, or even a significant chunk of it, but about taking that one crucial first step that builds momentum. This might be drafting the first paragraph of a report, making a single phone call, or outlining the first section of a presentation. By focusing on these small, achievable wins, we build confidence, reduce overwhelm, and create forward motion. It's about making progress, not perfection, and recognizing that consistent, small steps accumulate into significant results over time. This principle is vital for overcoming the paralysis that often accompanies feeling overwhelmed by the sheer volume of demands. For those in leadership positions, embodying these principles is not just beneficial for personal effectiveness, it's crucial for the health and productivity of the entire organization or team. A leader who is constantly stressed, reactive, and depleted sets a negative tone and creates a culture of similar dysfunction. Conversely, a leader who prioritizes effectively, protects their focus, manages their energy, and embraces intentionality becomes a model for others. When leaders demonstrate the importance of strategic pauses, focused work, and healthy rhythms, they give permission for their teams to do the same. They create an environment where sustainable effectiveness is valued over mere busyness. This requires leaders to be acutely self-aware, understanding their own triggers for overwhelm, and consciously modeling the behaviors they want to see in their teams. It means leading by example, showing that operating at your best is not just a personal goal, but a strategic imperative for collective success. Ultimately, this entire approach is about playing the long game. It's about recognizing that sustained high performance and fulfillment don't come from short, intense bursts followed by crashes, but from building consistent habits and rhythms that allow you to operate effectively over time. It requires a conscious commitment to intentionality, a willingness to challenge the prevailing culture of busyness, and the discipline to prioritize what truly matters. By shifting our focus from managing time to managing our energy, by mastering the art of the productive pause, by learning to say no strategically, and by protecting our focus from the onslaught of distractions, we can move from a state of overwhelm to one of purposeful effectiveness. It's about making deliberate choices that align our actions with our goals, ensuring that our efforts are both productive and sustainable. This isn't about finding a magic bullet or a shortcut. It's about adopting a more intelligent, intentional, and ultimately more rewarding way of working and living, ensuring we are truly at our best when it matters most.